In this video, how to enter a foreign port by boat. Entering a foreign port involves a series of legal and procedural steps to comply with international maritime laws, ensuring your vessel and crew are cleared by customs, immigration, quarantine, and port authorities. This process, often abbreviated as CIQP, prevents issues like fines up to thousands of dollars, vessel impoundment, or deportation. It's essential for all boaters, from sailboat cruisers to power yacht users. As rules vary by country, but there are shared common principles rooted in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Failure to follow them can lead to severe penalties, such as Australia's strict biosecurity laws that impose up to 420,000 Australian dollar fines for undeclared food items. So, preparation starts months in advance before departure, with thorough research on your destination's requirements. Use reliable sources like noonsite.com, which provides cruiser updated details on port of entry, visa rules, and clear nuances for over 200 countries. Cross-reference with official government websites such as the U.S. Customs and Border Protection for American boaters or equivalent agencies elsewhere. For example, Australia's Border Force requires 96-hour advance notice for all arriving vessels, including details on crew, cargo, and last port. Join cruiser forums like cruisersforum.com or Facebook groups even for real-time experiences and anecdotes and tips as regulations change frequently due to geopolitical shifts and different changing regulations. We know well in the world of citizenship and residency and immigration visas that things change all the time, and the same goes when entering by port. Identify official ports of entry only, as clearing in at unauthorized locations can result in denial of entry. In Mexico, for instance, you must use designated ports like Ensenada or Cabo San Lucas. Gather all necessary documentation early to avoid delays. Essential papers include your boat's registration or documentation certificate, proving ownership and nationality, such as the U.S. Coast Guard documentation for American vessels, valid for the trip duration. Carry proof of insurance covering third-party liability and hull damage, as many countries like the Bahamas mandate at least 300,000 USD in coverage. Passports for all crew must have at least 6 months validity and blank pages for stamps. Some nations, like Indonesia, require this strictly. Prepare a crew list detailing names, nationalities, birth dates, passport numbers, and roles aboard, stamped with a boat stamp if available. Inexpensive to make at a print shop and required in places like Turkey, so we hear. Include vaccination records, especially for yellow fever if you're going to any tropical areas, and any required visas must be obtained in advance. Thailand offers 30 days visa-free for many nationalities but extends to 60 with pre-application. Additional documents enhance smoothness. A port clearance from your last departure is crucial, as it's proof of legal exit and often requested upon arrival. Obtain it from customs before leaving. For radio-equipped boats, have your MMSI number and proof of AIS installation ready, as countries like Norway require this for tracking. And photocopy everything: passports, registration, insurance, and store this digitally on a cloud service for backups. If you're bringing pets, research the stringent rules. Australia demands a 180-day quarantine preparation, including blood tests, while New Zealand bans certain breeds outright. Weapons or ammunition must be declared or avoided, as undeclared firearms can lead to jail time in places like the Caribbean. Stock up on foreign currency for fees, as ATMs might not be accessible during clearance. And hold US dollars if you're unable to have the local currency. Officials often demand cash payments. Ensure your boat is ready for inspection and compliance. Check that safety equipment meets SOLAS standards, including life jackets, flares, EPIRB, and fire extinguishers, as quarantine officers may verify this. Dispose of restricted items like fresh produce, meats, or dairy before arrival to avoid biosecurity fines. In New Zealand, even honey is prohibited. Install or confirm VHF radio functionality on Channel 16 for international hailing. And learn local channels from pilot books. Equip with an AIS transponder for visibility, mandatory in EU waters for vessels over 300 gross tons, but recommended for all. Test navigation tools like GPS, charts, and depth sounders, as approaching unfamiliar ports requires precise pilotage to avoid hazards like reefs or shipping lanes. As you approach the foreign country's territorial waters, typically 12 nautical miles from the baseline, hoist the yellow quarantine or Q flag on your starboard spreader for sailboats or signal mast for powerboats. This signals your intent to clear in and that you're under quarantine until granted pratique, meaning freedom from disease. Do not lower it until all clearances are complete, then replace it with the host country's courtesy flag, flown below your national ensign. Flying the courtesy flag shows respect, and it is legally required in many places, like the UK under the Merchant Shipping Act. Monitor weather and tides closely, as some ports, like those in the tidal UK, have limited access windows. Use apps like PredictWind for forecasts. Establish communication before entering the harbor. Hail the port control or harbor master on VHF channel 16, then switch to their working channel, stating your vessel name, type, flag, last port, ETA, and crew count. For example, port control. This is Sailing Vessel Adventure. U.S. flag arriving from Miami. Request instructions for clearance. In busy ports like Singapore, using AIS to announce your presence is very helpful. If no response after 3 attempts, proceed to the designated customs dock or anchorage, but do not go ashore. Only the captain may initially disembark to report. In the U.S., pleasure boats must report telephonically to CPB and proceed to the nearest port for face-to-face inspection. Upon arrival, anchor or dock only in the quarantine or designated arrival area to avoid penalties. In the Bahamas, for instance, you must fly the Q flag and report to the nearest customs office immediately. The captain alone should proceed to authorities with all documents. No one else leaves the boat until cleared. The standard clearance order is quarantine first for health checks, then immigration for crew entry, customs for vessel and goods declaration, and port authority for berthing permissions. However, variations exist. In Australia, a single officer may handle all, while Indonesia requires separate office visits over days. Quarantine, or biosecurity, focuses on preventing disease and invasive species. Officers will inspect for pests, seize prohibited foods, and issue a free pratique certificate, confirming the vessel is healthy. Declare all onboard items accurately. As we mentioned, in Australia, failure to declare can cost 420,000 Australian dollars, plus imprisonment. Provide a maritime health declaration form detailing any illnesses aboard. Fees vary. Sometimes it's free. Immigration verifies crew identities and grants entry stamps or visas. Present passports, crew list, and proof of onward travel if required. Stay limits differ. The EU Schengen area allows 90 days in 180 for many, while Mexico offers 180 days. Overstays can incur fines or bans. Extend in advance if needed. Some countries like French Polynesia may require a bond equal to repatriation costs, refundable on departure. Customs declares the vessel, its value, and contents. You'll fill out forms like CBP 1300 in the US, listing serial numbers for engines, electronics, and valuables to prevent duty claims on return. Declare alcohol, tobacco, and cash over 10K. Limits vary, but keep in mind any duty-free type of things. Keeping alcohol, purchased alcohol under 1 liter, things like that. Inspections may involve sniffer dogs or X-rays, so be honest to avoid seizures. Port Authority or Harbor Master issues berthing permits and collects fees based on vessel size and stay duration. Provide registration, insurance, and MMSI. They may assign a mooring or slip. In Montenegro, this includes the vignette fees for coastal cruising. If agents are mandatory or helpful, hire one pre-arrival via noon site recommendations. In complex places like the Maldives, agents can be more expensive, but they handle paperwork efficiently. Fees overall range from free to hundreds of dollars, including overtime charges for after-hour arrivals. Country variations add layers. In the US, foreign-flagged yachts need a 1-year cruising license from CBP, obtained at first entry. The Bahamas requires a customs form, immigration card per person, and proof of citizenship, with a $300 USD entry fee for vessels over 30 feet. The Schengen limits non-EU boaters to 90 days, requiring e-clearance in places like St. Martin via online portals. Australia, as we mentioned, has very strict processes, including pre-arrival forms and potential fumigation. Notify 96 hours ahead of time. Indonesia demands a CIQP cruising permit applied for 60 days prior, plus social visas, with agents often essential for the multi-day process involving travel permits for regions like Papua. Common pitfalls include arriving without advance notice, leading to denial, or incomplete documents causing turnaround orders. Undeclared items like drones in some countries may result in complications or confiscation. Pets can also complicate matters. Microchip and rabies teeters are baseline requirements, and all the documentation regarding vaccines for the animal. Weapons must be sealed or surrendered. Declare them and lock them away. Some tips for success: dress smartly to show respect, speeding processes in conservative nations. Be patient and polite. Offer coffee during inspections to build rapport. Learn basic local phrases for greetings. Organize paperwork in a waterproof folder. Use apps like SailClear for Caribbean pre-notifications to cut wait times. Track expenses as receipts prove payments. For exits, reverse the process. Obtain outbound ZARP, Z-A-R-P-E, from the same offices, surrendering inbound papers. Handle issues proactively. If officials request bribes, politely ask for receipts to deter corruption. Lost documents, contact your embassy for temporaries. Weather delays, communicate via radio for extensions. Post clearance, keep papers on board for spot checks by Coast Guard. Mastering these procedures opens the world to safe, legal boating adventures. With preparation and respect, you'll navigate foreign ports confidently, enriching your journeys with cultural immersion and new horizons. Safe travels and fair winds. And if you're interested in visas, second passports, citizenship, migration to any of these countries, MyLatinLife, or a full-scale immigration consultancy, there's a link in the description to book a call with us if you want to get the process started. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos. We'll see you in the next one.